Good evening. It's after 9 o'clock now in the Central Time Zone. I'm Ari Temkin, and this is Showtime, sort of. Traditionally, I stream every day at noon, but for those of you that were with me today at noon, you'll know that it was problematic. So I kicked the tires a little bit. I tried to stream 3 different times. None of them were successful, and it looks like I fixed it. I don't know what it was that I fixed, but it apparently has been fixed. So I guess let's pick up where we left off. Yeah, G. Garcia says round 1,200,000. I can't read that number. G. Eric Koshaney says Bridgewater is gone and Rodgers signed a sick contract. He'll never have a good line now. What's going on, Sean Moore? How are you? Paul McNeil says you did fix it. I did. Yay! All right. I was kind of waiting to verify that it was like not lagging before I started to go crazy with my sharing. So post your comments, hit the share button. Let me know what you want to talk about. Broadcasting live across multiple pages and platforms. I'm Ari Temkin. I host the Cowboys pre- and post-game show on 105.3 The Fan. And I stream every day at noon Central. A little show we call Showtime. But tonight it's a little bit different because, again, didn't really have a successful stream earlier today. So I wanted to at least try to rectify that wrong. And so here we are. What do you want to know? Let's see. Let me just do this. And, Chris Bennett, no lagging, mazel tov. Thank you, buddy. All right, let's see here. I've apparently shared too much. So I want to thank and shout out to one of our partners, the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. What up, Dallas Cowboys America's Team? Let's see here. Michael Ibarra says, what's up? Justin Culpepper says, Cowboys. Fausto Chavez says, we need another good quarterback. Larry Smith said, let's get this thing going. Ruben Longoria says hello. Tony Goslinski says hello. Stacy Hollingsworth says, why is Dallas playing Arizona, not the Texans? The Cowboys are playing Houston tomorrow. They played Arizona last week. Their final preseason game will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. You can catch the pregame show on 105 to the Fan starting at 6 with yours truly. Just a 1-hour pregame show for the final preseason game. Sean Moore asks, does Lance Lenore still have a shot to make the roster? I don't think so. I think they're going to keep 6 receivers. I think, Deontay Thompson's had a good practice. He's probably the guy that was the favorite anyways. It's funny because last week at this point, I would have said yes to that question, but it's changed drastically in the last week. I think the Cowboys, they want to try to, they want to try to trade, instead of releasing Lance Lenore, releasing Deontay Thompson. I think they want to try to trade one of them to get some value for them, but I'm not entirely sure. But if I had to venture a guess, Sean, I'd say that Deontay Thompson will be the 6th receiver to make this roster. But there's a lot of competition for that 6th spot, and considering the Cowboys have major issues, question marks at the receiver position. They certainly, have depth there. They don't have a number 1, but they've got like 5 number 2s. All right, so multiple people are bringing up the backup quarterback situation. Teddy Bridgewater, who was, he was talked about on this stream, and a lot of Cowboys fans have been talking about the prospect of, adding a Teddy Bridgewater. The Saints traded a 3rd-round pick for Teddy Bridgewater, which that's too rich for my blood if I'm the Cowboys. So, if the price for Teddy Bridgewater was a 3rd-round pick, well, good for the Jets. And the Jets basically picked him up, signed him this offseason, brought him in to infuse some competition. They drafted Darnold. They like McCown. So, they pick up this guy up the scrap heap and end up with a 3rd-round pick because of it. So that's been great on the Jets. But if you're the Cowboys, you just couldn't in your right mind trade a 3rd-round pick for Teddy Bridgewater. You just can't do that. Neil Favre in the house. Neil Favre says, what's up, Ari? Ready for week 1? Absolutely. This is to me, this is the longest part before the year because it's so close. We've been waiting all offseason for it. And yet we still have to wait for that like final horrible preseason game to finish. And then there's that long week. But it'll be here very soon. Larry Smith says Soto weight loss works. That's a nod to 105 through the fan, I believe. Or, Larry, perhaps you actually use Soto weight loss. Starsha Walker says, did the Cowboys keep Rush? Well, they will have to cut down their roster to 53 after their final preseason game tomorrow night. So I don't know what the deadline is, Friday or Saturday, but they'll be down to 53 by Saturday. So here's the question I want you to answer, which is, what are the roster questions you have? I know Sean Moore asks if I thought that Lance Lenore would make the roster. What other roster questions do you have? Jason Dean wants to know why the Cowboys didn't play their quarterback and running back against Arizona, because I think they were fearful of potential injuries to their quarterback and running back and offensive linemen. Plus, they got a lot of snaps from their first team. They got a lot of snaps from their first team in the second preseason game against Cincinnati. So, I didn't exactly disagree with the move. I'm completely against added reps for a running back, considering running backs, they're basically one hit away from their final hit. I mean, there's in baseball they call it a pitch count, but for running back, I mean, the amount of hits you take, the wear and tear, just no need for it. All right, on the Dallas Prospect page, shout out to DDP, my buddy Derek Kirby from the Dallas Prospect. Check out him; does fantastic work at the Dallas Prospect. Dana Braining says, "What's up, Ari?" Randy Gregory looks good. He's been gone for 2 years. Oh, he looks good for being gone for 2 years, doesn't he? Yeah. No, look, the talent was never a question with Randy Gregory. It was just whether or not, he could stay off of weed, basically, and pass drug tests. And, what's funny is Jason Lockenfora from CBS had that tweet on Sunday night after the Cowboys game when I was doing the post-game show with Jesse Holly at 105 through the fan. Jason Lockenfora had the tweet that he thinks that there could be more trouble on the way for Randy Gregory. And, so all this week, it's like everybody's been like, well, what's the deal with that? Is there something going on? And the latest that I heard is nothing. That maybe there was potentially something, but that nothing has come of it. So I don't know. I mean, I think at this point, if nothing's come out, that substantiates Jason Lockenfora's erroneous report, then you can kind of just rest assured, Cowboys fans, that Gregory's at least fine for now. But I think, like, the Cowboys, the NFL has so much oversight over Randy Gregory. I mean, it's insane. He's got to check in with members of the NFL every hour or every couple of hours. I mean, he's constantly being drug tested. So he is back in the NFL, but he's just got a lot of hoops he's got to jump through in order to satisfy the requirements of being reinstated. And there's no question of his talent and ability. He's shown that all throughout training camp as he's played, and the preseason when he's played. And he's looked great. And I think when I talked to him at training camp in Oxnard, he basically said that not playing for basically 2 years has made him fresher, and that a lot of these guys don't have as fresh legs or dealing with the wear and tear of injuries for the last couple of years. So, that's something that's certainly good. All right, on the Phantom page, Tyler Cutright says they aren't going to address BU, QB, interior line, and safety, are they? What are they hunting for, according to Stephen Jones? So Tyler Cutright says they're not going to address the back quarterback, the interior of the offensive line, and the safety position. Well, here's the deal. We've seen the Cowboys in recent history make trades towards this part of the preseason, right before roster cutdowns. We've seen Bryce Butler they brought in as a fit for a 5th-round pick. I'm trying to think, there are a few others. So, the truth of the matter is, guys they sign that were cut from somebody else's 53, like, those guys, for the most part, aren't going to come and contribute right away. So, if you're looking for legitimate backup quarterback or the interior of the offensive line or safety, they're probably going to have to make a trade for him. And I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be Earl Thomas, but I'm sure they'll, look, they're going to they're going to make their roster down to 53, but for them to then take on another player from outside the organization to then cut one of their own players, considering, they're going to use a roster spot on Travis Frederick, and who knows how long, how long he'll be out. They're going to use a roster spot on David Irving. So yeah, I don't necessarily think the Cowboys are going to be very active in signing free agents. They may be active in the trade market. Sean Moore says, who has put themselves in position to potentially play themselves on the roster tomorrow night? Anyone? It's a great question. I'd say that, if I were to make a guess, that they're probably, 50 spots are taken. I mean, I can think of a linebacker battle. Justin March Lillard, Chris Covington. That's one that seems to be interesting. I think only one of those two is going to make the roster. Chris Covington was a draft pick. Justin March Lillard, is a guy that's really played his way into that conversation. The Cowboys have great depth at linebacker. So my guess is one of those two is potentially playing themselves on the... I think at this point, March Lillard's probably played himself out of the roster because Covington's been dealing with a lot of different stuff. I think he was sick when camp first started, and so he's been kind of behind the eight ball this whole time, but he does have a leg up in some ways by being a draft pick. I still want to think that Rico Gathers is fighting for a roster spot with Dalton Schultz. I don't think Mike White is fighting for roster spot. I think Cooper Rush has probably solidified that as much as that makes you want to puke. Although that could be one too. Maybe that's... It's hard for me to believe they haven't figured out who their backup quarterback is at this point, but I guess it could, it bears to reason that it could, possibly be the case. Eric Koscielny says, I think Frederick will play week 1. I don't, but I hope you're right. I'd love to see Frederick play week 1, but I doubt he will. In fact, I'll say there's probably a 99% chance he does not play Eric week 1, but maybe he will. 1% chance he will. And by the way, I'm making that percentage off of literally nothing other than just thinking that there's no chance he plays, but maybe. Let's see here. What else? Just trying to scroll through the comments. If you're watching this and you like what you're seeing, hit the share button. Post your comments. I'm Ari Temkin from 105 to the Fan and also Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. Usually I stream at 12 noon every day, Central Time. So if you're around at 12 noon, make sure to stream this show where I talk Cowboys, answer your question. It's an interactive show. Shavonda Red Teague gives me the high on the Dallas Cowboys Report page. Shout out to the Dallas Cowboys Report. I'm kind of trying to check in on all the different pages I'm broadcasting across. And I'll get to YouTube in a moment here. But just want to make sure I'm getting to everybody's comments. But what I want to tell everybody that is, on my phone I'm checking all these different pages, but I have the Phantom page up on an iPad. So go to facebook.com/Watch Phantom. The best way to expedite your comment being read is by going to facebook.com/Watch Phantom. Just ask Sean Moore and Kerry Teagle and G. Garcia and my buddy Eric Koscielny. They're actually all buddies, but for some reason I just pointed him out. But that's the fastest way to have your comments read. All right, let's see here. Law Nation page. Ted Mitchell says, you get the lag fixed. Looks good now. Thanks, buddy. Kerry Teagle says, glad you came back. Appreciate you, buddy. Marcy Shabazz says, we really need to keep Rico. He's a game player. Mediocre stuff. Nothing major like a guy in Seattle. Why, is there somebody in Seattle the Cowboys should be interested in at their safety position? Actually, he's in Austin, so he's not really even in Seattle. Sean Moore says, I can't see Frederick until midseason at the earliest. It could be wrong, but I'd put money on it. Yeah. Again, I've said as recently as like 2 days ago that I thought, he wasn't going to play at all this year, and the Cowboys should plan for him not to play. And the reports where he's already back at the facility working out and looks good. So, I think, look, 1, he makes the roster. That's a good sign. 2, if they don't put him on the short-term IR designation, that's an even better sign. It could be a mistake, though, because as I mentioned, there's a doctor from Baylor Med Center, a neurologist, who basically said that if you come back too quickly and you're doing rigorous activity like lifting weights or trying to practice football, you could have a setback in recovery. You could have a reoccurrence. So, again, the guy that talked to the Dallas Morning News isn't Travis Frederick's doctor, so he doesn't know all of the circumstances that go into it. So it certainly seems like the most optimistic outcome from what seems to be a slew of different outcomes. But we'll know a lot based on what the Cowboys do or don't do with Travis Frederick when it comes to roster decision making. All right, the Silver and Blue Nation page. Shout out to producer G, Big Game James. at the Silver and Blue Nation. Marvin Hargrove on the Silver and Blue Nation page says, Bridgewater traded to the Saints, Huntley was traded to the Seahawks, so now it's imperative that we bring in RG3. John Patrick says hello. Ruben Sanchez says Frederick's out for the season. This is what I thought, and I thought the Cowboys should plan that way, but that doesn't appear to be the case. As far as Brent Huntley, I mean, at least Bridgewater's shown something that should make you somewhat optimistic. I don't know why. And what did they get for Huntley? Like a 5th round pick? Is that what it was? Look, I think Cooper Rush will end up being their backup. So hope that Dak Prescott doesn't get hurt. But I mean, having a decent backup quarterback it's not 3rd round pick worthy, in my opinion. John Patrick says, what's the status of RG3? Well, he's probably not going to make Baltimore because, they've got Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson. So there's a good chance he's going to be on the street. The question is, would they bring in an RG3 and not keep a Cooper Rush or Mike White? I guess that's a possibility. Don't get me wrong. It's certainly something they could do. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I guess I'm okay based on how bad Cooper Rush and Mike White have played. It's almost like, well, how much worse can they be? Plus, he's obviously the guy that's familiar with the Cowboys offense and the zone read principles, which would play well into his type of game. So I'm not completely against it. Shout out to DDP, Derek Kirby, my buddy from the Dallas Prospect, watching this. What's going on, buddy? All right, let me scroll over now to YouTube and just make sure I'm checking in over there. But again, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media. I stream every day, noon Central. I'll be back tomorrow at noon Central. Tonight I did a late night edition of Showtime because, well, we did not have a successful stream today. So I figured I'd like to do that. Yeah, Sean Moore says, if you go with RG knee, you better carry 3 quarterbacks. And that's not something the Cowboys are interested in doing. Let's see what else. Oh man, somebody's on the Law Nation 2.0 page. Spamming. Somebody spammed the Law Nation 2.0 page. Law, get on this, buddy. What is that? All right, let's see here. Boomer Sooner says, what's up? What's up, Boomer Sooner? Trip Allah says, can't hear. Turn the volume up. Rage BC B Camp says, thoughts on Earl Thomas coming to Dallas? I think he should. Jan San says, is Tapper making this team? No, I don't think so. Buddy Johnson says, Ari, what do you think of safety TJ Green? I think he's better than Tyree Robinson, so sign him. Trip Allah says, I think a safety and a wide receiver and a D lineman last 3. So it'll be interesting to see what they keep at safety. They're going to start the season with 2 strong safeties starting at safety. My guess is they're going to keep Tyree Robinson as a 3rd. Obviously, Xavier Woods is a 4th. I don't know if they're going to keep more than 4 safeties. And the other thing, too, is we've heard that Xavier Woods could be returning as early as week 2. So, look, this is the guy that they said all offseason they didn't want to overextend themselves to trade for Earl Thomas because they liked Xavier Woods at that position. And I think he was having a good camp. He's not Earl Thomas, but certainly he's a better option than what they have at the position. So if Xavier Woods is going to be ready to go week 2, then it's not as much of a concern as everybody's making it out to be. And I think the Cowboys feel that way too. All right, I'm checking now on the Big Game James page on Facebook. Chris Bennett says, does Duke Thomas make the team? That's another one of those final battles probably coming down. No, I think Charvarius Ward's going to make this team over him. Charvarius Ward is an undrafted free agent out of Middle Tennessee State. He's had a really good camp. He's a guy that if you know Brian Broaddus and follow him, Broaddus basically was saying that he had him as a 5th round draft pick. So he's a guy that slipped out of the draft entirely, went undrafted, and so the Cowboys have liked him. So my guess is Charvarius Ward makes the team over Duke Thomas. Tyler Cutright says, first team D probably won't play, Eric. Nobody will play. The 4th preseason game, is, I mean, they're not, most of their second stringers aren't going to play. Cam Fleming won't play. I mean, the fourth preseason game is a game for like the 3 roster spots that are up for grabs to be filled. And even then, it might not be, because I mean, truthfully, if you're selecting rosters based on how guys perform in the final preseason game, as opposed to like a body of work of over a month and a half of being a training camp, you're probably not running a quality organization, quite frankly. Hit the share button, post your comments. I'm Ari Temkin, and also support our sponsors, BetDSI. If you're looking to place bets this football season, go to betdsi.com. Promo code PHANTOM. When you sign up, BetDSI is going to double your deposit. So you put in $100, BetDSI will give you another $100. You put in $1,000, BetDSI will give you $1,000. BetDSI.com. It's only a game until you bet. Go to betdsi.com. Use promo code PHANTOM. And if you deposit $1,000, you'll get 100% back. So $2,000 to play with. And they will match whatever you deposit initially, 100% up to $2,500. BetDSI.com. All right, on the Big Game James page, shout out to Big Game James and all the great work he does. Scott Vega asks if John Wilcox says hello. Hey, John, how are you? Scott Vega says, is Rico going to make the team? What's your opinion? My opinion is he should. You know, we've heard that the coaches don't have much trust in him because he doesn't know his assignments, he doesn't know blocking, but he's a playmaker, and I just haven't seen anything from like Dalton Schultz was known as being a good blocker at Stanford. We haven't seen that. I mean, Dalton Schultz has done nothing to make this team other than being a draft pick. So, you know, I think, sorry. There we go. So, you know, I think Rico should make this team. Whether or not he will, I'm not sure. But I think the other thing is, will they carry 3 tight ends? They might have to keep extra offensive linemen. So I don't know how the numbers will work out, but I guess they'll carry 3 tight ends, and Gathers should be that third. Let's see what else we got on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page. Neil Favre says Darius Jackson or Bo going to the practice squad. I think Bo makes this team. I think if the Cowboys, I mean, I don't think Darius Jackson will end up making it to a practice squad because he's been good. I mean, he was released by the Cowboys a couple of years ago and picked up by Cleveland, or maybe it was that last year? He was picked up. You know, he was had a good camp for the Cowboys and picked up by Cleveland and got hurt and then was released. So, I mean, I think Jackson's shown in training camp in preseason games that, you know, he could be a legitimate, you know, an every down back. He can catch out of the backfield. He can block. I mean, he's good. But I think Scarborough's going to end up making this team over him. And I don't think they'll be able to practice squad either of them. Armando Olivera says, can Looney do the job? Yeah. I mean, the problem is you're talking about replacing an all-pro, one of the best centers, if not the best center in the National Football League. So, you know, it's not going to be the same. And on top of that, you know, when we spoke with Zach Martin initially after the diagnosis, he basically, you know, I mean, he's played every game next to Travis Frederick. So there's a lot of things that those two know to do with one another. You know, there's a lot of nonverbal communication that goes on. Those guys just they know where each other's going to be, so it just makes everything easier. It makes them that much better because they know where each other's going to be without having to say it. Well, I mean, Looney's not going to have that with Zach Martin. So the question is, you know, he can hold up for a couple of games, but over the course of 16 games, if he's needing to start at center, I think it's going to be tough. Enrique Esquivel says Cowboys are the best team. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Nick Wolf says Chaz Green just better not be on the gosh damn team. He might be, Nick. He might be. And this again might be another one of these, you know, Kadeem Edwards, Chaz Green, you know, situations where they're trying to figure out what they want to do with one of their final roster spots. But I think a couple of weeks or last week I would have said no, he's not going to make this team. But you know, I think he very well might, which obviously doesn't, you know, inspire a lot of confidence in Cowboys fans. I know, but it is what it is. Oh, Givon's in the house. What's going on, man? How are you? I'm doing a late night stream, so you're able to catch it. Nice to see you, brother. It is Givon, yes? Javon? Larry Smith on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page says, my question is, are our backups can get the job done? So when somebody goes down, this team not get weaker and weaker, and other teams can fill the void. Why? I mean, it depends on the position. I'm certainly not one that's a big fan of Jason Garrett that thinks he's consistently, has shown his ability to overcome injuries. He doesn't. He's an excuse maker, a guy that claims he's not making excuses while simultaneously making excuses. I mean, I'm not confident if the Cowboys suffer, a lot of injuries, this team can overcome those injuries and be okay with their backups. But, we'll see. But, I think there are certain areas where they're just not going to be able to overcome it. This team's built with a great offensive line, and, they're missing Travis Frederick. If Zach Martin and Tyron Smith miss time, they're not going to be very successful. Neil Favre says, how will it be determined if Frederick is actually ready to go? Is that decision made by the doctors? Yes. Yeah. It's a decision made by the doctors and Frederick. Obviously, I'm sure Frederick is, has a fear of what he's dealing with, so he's not going to want to push it too hard. So he's probably trying to balance the two between, not trying to push it too hard, but, getting himself back out there. So, again, I figured he'd be out for the entire season. And I thought that's the way the Cowboys should plan for it, because the Cowboys seem to be completely unprepared for a lot of those kinds of situations. Zeke Elliott was a good example of this from last year, where it's like, how are you caught off guard by this? You shouldn't have been caught off guard by Zeke Elliott missing all these games. You should have known it was coming. So, they never seem to plan for these things, especially when they're staring them right in the face. But, no, the doctors ultimately would make the decision on Frederick. All right, well, I want to thank everybody for being a part of this later stream, the stream this evening. A reminder that I stream every day at noon Central right here on Phantom, the New World Order of Sports Media, and across all these different great pages. The Dallas Cowboys America's team page, the Dallas Cowboys Report, Law Nation, Silver and Blue Nation, Big Game James, the Dallas Prospect, the Dallas Cowboys fans, and check out the Dallas Cowboys fans and fan club at let me see if I can remember. It's cowboys.fans. Cowboys.fans, and you can check out where they do the watch parties in Dallas and in California. Sorry, it's fans, FANZ.club. That's what it is. Fans.club. There you go. Check it out. Fans.club. You can check out where the watch parties are in Dallas and in California for Cowboys games. They're a really cool fan club. Don, the guy who runs the deal, is awesome. So go check those guys out. Again, thank you all for being a part of my stream tonight. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon. It looks, truthfully, a big reason why I did this stream tonight was just to make sure that I was good to go, because I had all these issues today and I was trying to fix them and I couldn't fix them. So, but thanks everybody for being a part of tonight's stream. Make sure to be with us tomorrow at 12 noon, and then of course the pregame show for Cowboys and Texans starts at 6 on your home in Dallas for the Dallas Cowboys, 105 through the Fan and across the Dallas Cowboys radio network.